Hello and good evening for me. Good morning for you. Afternoon, evening, late afternoon, late evening, middle of the night. However it is you choose to do this. One more lesson for today. Lesson 3, World History B for Salceda. Welcome back to class, guys. It is 7 p.m. Oh, I take it back. That's the class, how it's supposed to last. It's actually 8:43 p.m. for me. Landing page. I saw some of you for World History Live. I will get to you guys, but I have people who have not taken the first part. I'm trying to get a second time for you guys, but I need more of you guys to show up if you could. You can have an appointment with me Monday to Thursday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. A little bit about me. We are on Unit 6, Lessons 1 and 2. Have something already for you. We're entering Lesson 3 with Absolutism. Let me zoom in just so we can get a better look at this. And here we go as it loads. Just going to refresh it real quick. Tends to happen. All right. Our terms for us today, annotations. For this lesson, we got two terms, which practically talking about three countries, talking about the French, the Prussians, and the Russians. All right. Absolutism. The king possessed unlimited power. His rule was absolute. Absolutism. The king is in charge. Something we didn't like in the Americas. We had a revolution, got rid of our monarch. The Enlightenment, a philosophical movement of the 17th century, right? So -1. So we're in the 1700s, that emphasized the use of reason to examine earlier accepted doctrines and traditions. So works, education, science, theories. The Enlightenment, you can argue, starts in the late 1600s and makes its way through the 1700s, about 100, 150, 200 years, depending on who you want to ask. You can argue it went from like 1650 to 1750. Some argue it went from 1700 into the 1800s. Hey, little girl. Giving a lesson, little person in the kitchen. So let's move on down from here. People we need to know for this one, Ivan the Fourth, the first ruler of Russia, called Tsar, also known as Ivan the Terrible. He was a hell of a warrior. I'll leave it at that. Louis the 14th. If we don't know how to tell Roman numerals, let me give you a quick lesson. One stick is one. That's just one stick is one. A V is 5. But if you have a 1 before the V, then it becomes a 4. If you have a 1 after the V, it becomes a 6. I hope I didn't lose you. Right? X equals 10. Same concept. If you have a 1 before, it becomes 9. If you have a 1 after, it becomes 11. Hope I didn't lose you. So here we have X, so that's 10. 5 minus 1 will give us 4, so we're at Louis the 14th. There's a whole bunch of Louis. Louis the 16th, Revolution. Peter the First, also known as Peter the Great, will help make Russia what it becomes. That's it for our people. Let's move on here. The wars that plagued Europe during the 16th and 17th century, -1, the 15th and 1600s, led many to despair of peace. To many of the Roman Catholic persuasion, the Reformation was to blame for all the political chaos. Apologies, guys, you can't see what I'm doing. Here we go. Political chaos, the disunity of religion, reformers have brought, also believed to destabilize society. For this reason, the Protestantism was often equated with rebellion. So don't, because it's bad. In truth, they're just breaking the mold, right? So the French despotism, absolutism, was found in great acceptance in France after the death of Henry IV. The crown passed again to a minor, Louis XIII, X11. For 30 years, he was only 9 years old. Once in power, they assumed authority, blah, blah. We can read that. They're still dealing with the Huguenots. We have a picture here. You're encouraged to read all of this, of Louis XIV of France. Typically, the richer you are, the more patriots you get done. For those of you who are making some fun of Louis here, yes, men wore leggings and men wore heels. It was a man thing, and then women picked it up, believe it or not. All right. Not long after Richelieu's death, Louis XIII died. Like his father, Louis XIV was a child when he set into France. The new chief minister, Cardinal Jules Mazarin, was not unlike Richelieu. Mazarin maintained absolutist policies, crushing any opposition to his power. Right? The king was 23 years old and could imagine no other ruler for France other than himself. He referred to himself as the Sun King, asserting that he was the light of his people. He lived in Versailles, the Palace of Versailles. I got some pictures for you. When we look at it at Google Maps, right, where is this Palace of Versailles? I believe it's outside of France, if not in France itself. Let's zoom in just a bit. Little Google field trip. I hope it's loading for you guys as well as it's loading for me. Palace of Versailles. I'm loading out. Can we load back in? Oh, come on, Versailles. The maps. Beautiful pictures of Versailles. But I believe a few of our teachers have been to this place because they travel. I have not traveled that much around the world. It's on my bucket list. Oh, come on, Versailles. Okay, let's get out of Google Maps. It's not working for me. Images of the palace itself is beautiful. You can go visit. It's more of a museum type of place now. They made it into a World Heritage Site, I believe. Right? Man, my Google, for some reason, is now not working with me. Okay. Anyways. As it loads, I will load. I'm sure if we can. Versailles. Just do a fresh load. Versailles. Okay. Versailles images. You see? Wow. I mean, wow. Wow. I'll pause here and go wow again. Anyway, let's go back to class, guys. The further intact control, Louis XVI put the Grand Palace outside the city of Paris, or known as Versailles. Just to walk through the halls of the palace was to enter into worship. Right. Beautiful, as we saw some pictures there. Prussia, Louis XIV's reign. Louis XIV's long reign encountered other rulers who adopt an absolutism form of government. In Prussia, this was seen most profoundly during the reign of Frederick William, the Great Elector. Prussia is the current kingdom of Germany to an extent. Prussia was a bunch of little countries, a bunch of little like city-states. They came together later on to create the nation of Germany. Germany is brand new. Germany was founded in the 1860s. When was Germany founded? 1866. Germany is a relatively new country. Relatively. Right. To maintain the army, Frederick William created the General War Commissariat. The General War not only oversaw the administrative needs of the army, it also oversaw the collection of taxes. Forgive me, guys. I know you can't see what I'm reading. I'm reading up here. Because the army was so important to the Prussian state, eventually the general took over the government, all of Prussia. Leaders of the answer directly to Frederick. This guy was in charge. He was in charge. This is a picture of Frederick II right over here. The older you live in these time periods, the more wow it is, because, I mean, you're lucky to get past 20. You're lucky to get past 40. People who lived into the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they've been blessed to live that long. It is crazy. Prussia challenged and overtook Habsburg control of many German states. In addition to his military talents, sorry, guys. Habsburg controlled German states. In addition, Frederick was also a musician and an artist. He was very interested in the philosophical ideas of the Enlightenment. Enlightenment will be studied in the following sections. This led him to allow freedom of worship and Jews established public school systems, which is actually not a bad thing. Everyone, kids going to school? Yes, please. Prussian soldiers will train American colonials to create an army against the British, right? In case we are, what? Prussian too. Let me finish this up. Last but not least, we have the rise of the Tsardom of Russia. Russia had a kingdom. Their kingdom is known as the Tsar. The word Tsar comes from the Greek or Roman word Caesar, which is also ruler. Roman history later. The conviction of Russia was the Third Rome. Where are we? My bad. In 53, Constantinople fell to the Muslims. To look again to Rome for spiritual guidance was not possible for the Russians, so they kind of did their own thing. The conviction that Russia was the Third Rome and the true successors of the great Roman Empire made significant consequences. Tsar, again, derived from the title of Roman Caesar, what I just said, but I said it first before I read it. The first Russian ruler to be officially recognized as the Tsar of the Third Rome was Ivan IV. Tsar Ivan IV ruled Russia from 1547 to 1584. Man, that's almost 40 years. 37 years to be exact. His reign, look at this next part, was filled with periods of great good and horrific acts of violence. Hence, title Ivan the Terrible. You can read on that on your own. No, thank you. You're encouraged to read. After Ivan the Terrible died, Russia experienced a great deal of chaos known as the Time of Troubles. In 1613, I'm right here, guys. Apologies. Time of Troubles in 1613. The Romanov Tsar, the Romanov dynasty, would rule until 1917. So about 300 years for these Romanovs, right? If those of you who don't know how big Russia is, how many countries, we can fit the United States twice into Russia. I saw a map earlier that Russia can go across Africa. Huge. How many countries? Here you go. There's some countries in there. Oh, no, no, sorry, this one. All these countries can fit into Russia. Amazingly huge Russia is. Peter the First was crowned the Tsar of Russia in 1682. In 97, at the age of 25, he traveled to Europe. Down here, guys. Traveled to Europe in hopes of gaining support for the war against the Ottoman Empire. Well, for example, Peter the Great of Russia. After the war with Sweden, Peter was proclaimed emperor and was called Peter the Great, hence the Great. Continue reading here on your own. You owe me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. You got some matching to do at the bottom. If you do not do well, send me an email. I'll reopen it for you. Let me know why you didn't do so well, honestly, please. Best of luck to you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great evening, a great upcoming weekend, and I will see you on Monday.